Oh boy, here we go. Say Anything, Hebrews, the new record from Say Anything, of course, or should I say the Max Bemis solo project plus about 15 other guest vocalists. Max Bemis, he's made a name for himself over the years, not only for his antics that also came from his drug-related incidents and all of that sort of thing. He's clean now. He's got this quirky attitude that used to come out a lot in his lyrics, and it often fit quite well with the style of music that the band played, which was predominantly punk rock influenced, and subgenres had kind of trailed off through there. The last time that I really felt really interested and compelled by a Say Anything record was 2009's Self-Titled, which in itself was a little bit disappointing. But when 2012 came around, drug and alcohol-free Bemis just sees him opening up and saying that this is going to be the best record that Say Anything has ever done with Anarchy, My Dear. No, it was not that. Nothing close to that. I, as a fan, was let down. The majority of their fan base felt very let down by that, considering he promised such big things. And once again, here with the new record, Hebrews, he is just promising to change things up once again and just make this huge album that is just going to blow everyone's mind. It's just going to be a message to haters, and it's going to be him doing what he wants to do and having his artistic freedom. You didn't think it could get much worse than Anarchy, My Dear, did you? Well, I'm here to tell you that it got way worse. The band has sunk way down the rabbit hole, and they've just gone a long way from their Is a Real Boy days in defense of the genre, and even Self-Titled and some of the older EPs. It's really quite saddening to listen to. It's in what I can only assume is an attempt to stay fresh and relevant. Bemis decided not only to cut all guitars from this record, but he thought it would just be a great idea to just bring this huge entourage of all these other guest vocalists to this album and make us the most unappealing, unbalanced, identity crisis-filled record that he could possibly make. I think the worst part about this record, for me at least, is that Max's vocals fit so terribly with the string sections and the synthesizers that he put in place of the guitars. 666 sounds like it was mixed and recorded in GarageBand. It's got these awkward stops and starts in the synth line, horrific lyrics that just... especially the chorus, 666, I need a fix. It's just an overall vibe that makes me feel uneasy when I'm listening to it. What might be even worse is the lyrical cliches that Max seems to fall back on again and again. It might have worked when he was a druggie or an alcoholic, but not now. Let's get one thing straight. I do not want Max to relapse. I am very happy that he is sober, but whatever artistic visions the man is having right now are nothing more than a bad nightmare. Bemis seems to be writing love songs way too often and just way too repetitively. Prime example is the track The Shape of Love to Come featuring his wife. It's just unapologetic in its clichédness and its madness. I want you, I need you, Bemis wails in the chorus, and it just, you know, every love song ever, you know, you never heard of those, Max, where they say almost the same thing? You couldn't come up with anything better than that? Another recurring theme, obviously since it's in the title of the album, is the fact that he's Jewish. He constantly fills our minds with his self-depreciating thoughts. He's Jewish, he's just a fat middle-aged Jew that just, it can't do anything right, and he can't apparently make a good Say Anything song anymore. And, you know, I'm just starting to agree with the last part of that statement there, considering I haven't found much that I've enjoyed from these guys since 2009's Self-Titled album. I mean, I get it. He made this record as the antithesis as to what people actually wanted or expected to see here on the new Say Anything record. Cool, bold statement, man. You can have all the pride in the world that you want from that, but it doesn't make this record any less agonizing to listen to. The guest features on this record are just so often and so inconsistent that I often wonder throughout listening to this whose album I'm even listening to. From the love songs for his wife from the band Isley, to Tom DeLonge, to Andy Hull from Manchester Orchestra, It's just disappointing to see such overkill here on this. I would sit here and list all the guest vocalists for you, but it's over 10 and frankly I don't want to use the time. Tom DeLonge's feature comes on the track Nibble Nibble, which also happens to be the closer. It actually has some decent backing vocals here on this one, but it's mainly just filled with Bemis singing "Oh yeah," especially in the second half of this track. If you're gonna put Tom on a track, at least give him something decent to work with and put him in the spotlight instead of just being an echo to your voice. The production on this track changes from sounding like a video game soundtrack to more of a modern alternative jam about halfway through, or at least after the first minute mark. And I think what mainly sucks about this track for me is the fact that it has potential. Unlike so many songs on this record, this one I actually had a little bit of faith in. It's honestly pretty damn solid musically, but its repetitiveness just gets to me. I would say it's one of the better tracks on the record, but still, there are a lot of flaws to it. One thing I have to shout out and praise on the record is the drumming. Throughout, he actually does shine and does his thing back there. He's tearing it up on the drums, and it really doesn't fit with some of the tracks and the other instruments. It would just go great with some guitar parts mixed in with some synthesizers and strings in addition to the drumming and bass, but it just never happens. Boy, it is the only track on this album that I can completely tolerate and actually kind of like. The synths sound kind of like guitars here on this one, and I'm not saying that a track necessarily has to have guitars to make it listenable, but on this one, it's something that actually sounds great with Bemis's screamed vocals, so this would definitely be the track to hear from the record in my opinion. Call Me Kubrick features vocalist Chantel Dupree, and it's all about Bemis just feeling out of place. I would say, at least for part of the song, it's one of the more strong lyrically throughout this entire record, but then it just seems to turn into a shouting match of how many times the man can say swastika. I've honestly never heard anyone say that word on an album or a song that many times, so congrats, I guess. He broke his own record from the other track on the record, Push. Another song to hate from this record is Judas Decapitation, because it opens with this line: "This is the tale of a bearded sloth who defaces himself so they can get their rocks off." Oh, it's so clever because Max Bemis is talking about the sloth being himself. He then speaks of how he has no plans of adding the guitars back to the record, and honestly his voice just sounds awful on this track. Those elements combined with the string section are like nails on a chalkboard to me. Blah blah blah, that's it. I can't talk about this record anymore. There's moments that sound like they could have been a good idea musically here and there, but those moments are very, very scattered and very, very scarce, and these tracks just ultimately end up falling on their face every single time. Hebrews sounds like a compilation of songs rather than an album. It's just, you know, they all seemed like they were quickly written and just not enough thought was going into what vocalist goes on which track. It was just like, we have to have a guest on every single song. Fuel your angst into something else, Max. It just comes off desperate and confused to me. If you're into super experimental and confusing electronic punk pop ramblings of a man that can't decide what to do with his band to save his life, then you're gonna love this record. 1.5 out of 5 from me. I think that's the lowest rating I've ever handed out to an album here on Album Review TV, so that just goes to show you. Boom. I did it. That's the lowest rating I've ever handed out. I went back and double checked. So I told you guys that if I reviewed this one, I would probably tear it a new one, and honestly, something like this deserves it. This is just my opinion, of course. If you love the record, I'm sorry to offend you, or if I did offend you, don't take it personally because we all have opinions. But anyways, guys, make sure you hit the like button on this video or hit the dislike, which I'm sure this one will get its fair share of. And as always, I will see you guys very, very soon right here on Album Review TV, Beyond the Reviews.